let's tell a story about one of the greatest psyops in history. The psyop that you deserve less and less every year, and that you should work harder and harder for less and less. The psyop that to be broke was the American way. The psyop that you should be lucky to pay your bills. The psyop that it's normal for prices to go up every year, forever. The psyop that it's normal to pay taxes. When you're born, death and taxes are the only certainty they would tell you. The psyop that you need to make $80,000 a year to take care of your family, then $100,000, and then $150,000. Now they tell you both you and your wife need to work to achieve financial freedom. So you hire the nannies, you hired the babysitters, you leave your community, you just don't have time for them anymore. Because you and your wife embarked on individual careers. These careers that took you away from your kids, your spouse, your home, your community. And they told you this was normal. It's totally normal to spend 2/3 of your time away from your family. It's normal to fight and get divorced. And it has nothing to do with the economic decisions and policies made by the government. None of it was normal. It was all nefarious. And it chipped away at what it meant to be an American. It chipped away at your self-esteem. It chipped away at your marriage, at your family, until you looked up and one day no one was married anymore. No one was succeeding unless they were heavily leveraged. One day you woke up and realized you don't recognize the world around you. Until Trump. President Trump came along and said, "This is your country, and that's your money." And he wouldn't back down. All the people that were destroying you came out and spoke against him. They went to great lengths to undermine his agenda. When President Trump hit his stride in 2019, they released a biological weapon that was the largest psyop in global history. COVID. They ran the scamdemic. They extorted trillions of dollars out of your economy. Then they stole your election overtly, hijacked your democracy, put up barbed wire fencing around your capital, and told you it was normal. During the next 4 years, they would unleash an invasion the likes of which no nation had ever seen. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of illegals poured in the United States of America and began gobbling up whatever remaining resources were in existence. You were deemed a domestic terrorist by those in power. They surveilled your phones, your computers. They surveilled your lives, but it wasn't enough to stop Donald Trump. When they couldn't undermine his campaign through the courts and lawfare, they eventually tried to kill him, again and again and again, until that fateful day in November, when President Trump and America reclaimed their sovereignty. With him, he brought the richest man on the planet, for free, named Elon Musk. They then began uncovering and publicizing all of fraud, theft, waste, and abuse of the American taxpayer. They have threatened him. They have threatened his family. Subversion is all they have left. Infiltration is all they have left. Their funding is drying up. This is your Liberation Day.
Welcome to the JJ Carroll Show. We all live in a matrix of lies. I don't care what you think a matrix is, just call it a cage. You are in a cage. We have no freedom. When I saw that, it popped up on my feed this morning, and I changed my whole show. Had one all laid out, and I saw that, and I went, "Yep, that speaks to everything that I believe. Everything that I believe. We're looking at the destruction of the United States of America, the societal norms, the cultural norms, the complete destruction of the family unit. That's undeniable. We have become a balkanized nation. We are told that you have to work, work, work. For what? What are we, or am I? What are we working for? How is it less than 50 years ago, you could have one income, have a nice house, a car, go on vacations, and you were able to save money? Think about what I just described to you. That's absurd right now. It's absurd. People are working to pay their mortgages. They're making decisions on, do I have enough money to pay Obamacare premiums or get food? Electricity costs skyrocket. Property tax, nonstop taxation. But you have to work harder. Now your wife has to work. Now I don't see my wife. Do you think there's a correlation between husbands and wives working their ass off during the week, never seeing each other, and the stress that both of them come home to, that they still need to clean, they need to cook, the plethora of household chores that needed to be done, not to even mention if you have children. So you're not at school, now you have to bring work home, now you have to educate your kids because their grades are falling behind. You're not there. You're missing their sporting events. You're missing their recitals. You're missing time. And now in 2025, the husband and wife are working and the husband has a side hustle. Do you think, or do you not understand the stress? You could do that when you're going through a rough time in your life. You're like, okay, I'm going to get a side hustle. I'm going to, we had some medical bills. We have whatever it is that we have to take care of, but it's a moment in our lives, and I'm going to hustle and do it 6 months, a year, then I'm done. No, and even at 6 months to a year, you are going to break. You're going to have marriage issues. You're going to have issues with your children. You're going to have financial issues. You're going to have stress and health issues. This isn't my feelings. This is just, as they like to say, science. Now imagine what would hurt you and cause massive relationship damage, health damage, financial damage. Now you're supposed to do it your entire life. And then everybody looks around and says, well, I don't understand why our society's breaking down. Well, your society's breaking down because we have been forced into a matrix. We have been told that white people are bad. Balkanization's good. Having a nation speaking 100 different languages and then hundreds of different dialects is good. It's good to have Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, Muslims, Christians all together. It's great. We're a melting pot, don't you know? Diversity is our strength. Don't you understand that? Tell me what you just watched for 3.5 minutes and tell me where any of that was wrong. Tell me where that was manipulated, the data was twisted. Anything that gentleman that created that meme, that visual meme, is incorrect. I dare you. I challenge you. Tell me where it's wrong. Tell me they didn't steal the 2020 election. Go ahead. I'm waiting. The most vile, the most racist, the most incompetent senator and vice president, and everyone knows that he has dementia. He sits in his basement. Donald Trump gives rallies with up to 60,000 people. Donald Trump wins 17 out of the 18 bellwether states or counties. Wins all of the states that have to be won. And this man, this vile racist, gets more votes than anyone in the history of presidential elections. Ever. He got more black votes than the first black president. He got more black votes than the second black president, which is the same guy. You're expecting me to believe that? After all the evidence shows that it is absolutely a psyop? In coordination with was COVID real? Yeah, I had COVID at least twice. I'm coughing now because every winter it manifests itself again inside my body. It's like I can't get rid of it. So yeah, that was real. But it was natural from some bats? Or did our government create it in collusion with the communist Chinese, and then it got, quote, leaked out into the world? Do you think that was a mistake? Do you think that was just an accident? Do you think it's an accident that we created a financial system based on gold backing it to then turn it into a paper magic machine run by bankers that have no loyalty to the United States of America. We are run by a bank, the Federal Reserve. In the same year the Federal Reserve gets hyped up and passed, we get on what's called income tax. Never before even mentioned. Income tax came out of thin air. Think about, we're so conditioned to be abused by our government that we just think income tax, well, of course, they tax our income. Stop for a second and listen to that phrase, income tax. Why are they taxing what I earned? Who gave them the moral right to tax my income? See, nobody stops, and I'm not blaming people because life is so difficult. It's so fast. It's so maniacal that nobody stops and says, let me dwell on this for a second. Income tax. Wait a minute. Where in the Constitution does the Congress and the President and the Senate get to determine they get to take my property rights? In the Constitution, it protects my property rights. But now you're saying just because the government passes some BS bill that they can tax my income? Our founding fathers would never tolerated this. But then again, our founding fathers would never, ever behave like these cretins do in our government. They're corrupt to the core. I did a real take on NGOs earlier today that will come out. Tim Burkett has come out, and I showed this yesterday, and he's calling for basically an audit and then having people arrested they're not making money. They're becoming wealthy on the backs of Americans. They're becoming wealthy because they're cheating in the stock market. They're becoming wealthy because their family members are perfectly positioned in NGOs, international and domestic NGOs, in 2, 3, 4 levels below the quote main NGO, so they can funnel and launder money through the main NGO and pay their family members 2, 3, 4 levels below. And now it's clean. So somebody's wife works for Catholic Charities, three NGOs removed. 3 NGOs removed. And they give her money is, her salary is $300,000 a year, and we give her a bonus of $1 million or $2 million. Huh. Well, where did that money come from? Well, it came from her husband or her spouse that funneled money to the NGO through a bill. And you can't do anything about it. You can't stop it. Those same NGOs fund the campaigns of these people. Look, I can go on. Well, I can literally do a marathon show just on this. But we are living in a matrix of lies. Some days I wake up and I'm prepping for the show, or I just drive around to go run errands, or I'm doing some side business, and I'm thinking to myself, is anything real? Like, is this world real? Is this actually happening? Am I actually this helpless? And my life, good or bad, hinges on people like AOC, Ben Crenshaw, who's now the one-eyed war hero, and he is a war hero, just like John McCain. But I don't give them any other breaks after that. He got kicked off of any type of foreign travel because he got so drunk he must have caused a massive scene in Mexico. They banned him. Do you think that Mr. Crenshaw, Congressman Crenshaw, was buying shots of tequila out of his pocket? Or do you think that was part of his per diem and expense report out of his office? You can guess that answer. Here's a matrix that's happening. This is the Epstein. And I know we talked about it yesterday, but we have to hit it again. Why? Because they're telling us the truth if you just listen to them. Think about what we have endured for, what is it now? 6 years, 8 years. Epstein, it's nothing to see here, nothing to see here. He killed himself in prison, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about it. It was just a few kids and they're okay now. To the Democrats in power will not release anything that are all the videos, the flight logs, the hard drives that were dozens of hard drives wrapped in evidence tape by Epstein himself. And the Republicans are browbeating them like, you guys are hiding because all of your people are in it. It was a psyop. Because who got into power? Who ran the House? Well, that would be Speaker Johnson, 2 years into Biden's administration. And then he got the Senate and the presidency. And what did Speaker Johnson do? They denied the release. Senate leader, the wooden pencil John Thune and the other Republican senators voted to block the release of Epstein files. The president of the United States called it a hoax. He ran on releasing the Epstein files, and now we're a bunch of dumbasses and it's a hoax. Then the Democrats start railing on the Republicans. Well, why don't you release it? Why don't you release it? And people, honestly, even in the mainstream media, which are grotesque, ask them point blank, why didn't you release it? And they didn't even answer. So now we're forced to release it. The House votes for it. Then the Senate votes for it. And then Johnson is upset. Speaker Johnson's upset. And I'm going to play this because this is maddening. Okay, Speaker Johnson claims to be a man of God. Do I believe he's a man of God? I don't think so. I'm just going to, I don't care about this. You can't judge. I can judge. I can judge people's actions and see where the heart is. I just do. Because here's, before you play it, Nick, you can keep it up on the board, but before you play it, this man's going to tell you in 30-something seconds about the importance that we have to redact and we have to have non-disclosure of certain people that are in this because, and I'm going to almost quote, we need to protect our sources and methods in our intel agencies, foreign and domestic. This man just admitted that Epstein was working with our CIA, was working with Mossad, MI6, maybe a couple others, our federal government in collusion with Israel and maybe some other countries allowed American young girls to be raped for years because they were getting leverage on politicians, entertainment, celebrities, media, scientists. Do you understand? Do you understand this matrix that we're living in? It's not beautiful sunshine. It's not rainbows and unicorns. It's not, peace and love. It is an evil, dark place. And I don't care if you want to believe that this is all fairy tales and everything's going to be all right. You're a fool. And I'm not going to be a fool. Maybe this all blows up in my face and then I'm one of the first casualties, fine. But no one's ever going to, as they're looking at my grave or they're talking about me, no one's going to say, well, that guy was a fool. They're going to say, well, damn, that guy was pretty much spot on. Watch this, but don't watch it. I want you I encourage you to close your eyes just for 30 seconds. Just close your eyes and listen to the words that he's saying, because he's not a bright man and he's under stress. And when people that are not bright and they are under immense stress, they say things that they should never, ever say. Go ahead and play this, Nick.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that Declassification should always rest, and always has rested, with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies.
He just told you. He just told you, and he's exasperated, he's angry, he's frustrated that they're going to release information. And let's be clear what information is. Information just isn't words on paper. Information are photographs of men having sex with young girls, called raping young girls. There's going to be videos of senators, congressmen, politicians, elite Hollywood stars, media, people like Katie Couric, George Stephanopoulos, Bill Clinton, probably thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands, as my sources and the people I've interviewed that are Epstein survivors, hundreds of thousands of these men and women, videos. The FBI, seized over 20,000 DVDs. Do you understand how many DVDs that is and how many hours? How many hours? Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours on a DVD. 20,000. Dozens upon dozens upon dozens of hard drives. We're talking about massive, massive troves of evidence of the political elite of many countries, to include Israel, and all the elites in our nation were raping children. And this man of God, this piece of trash, Johnson, is arguing to hide that. Now, why is he trying to hide that? I'm going to read you a quote. Speaker Johnson wants the final report on the Epstein files from the DOJ to be watered down so we don't, quote, do permanent damage to the political system. Now, this goes hand in glove with what I have been told repeatedly, that if everyone found out how deep the pedophilia is, how evil and violent and vile our government is, our economic system is, our entertainment system, that our entire country would crumble. And my retort back to these people are you telling me we are supposed to allow this pedophilia to continue because it is the glue that holds our nation together? And every time I ask that, there's silence. Just silence. Because when you say it out loud, it sounds as absurd as it is. I'm going to play this next video, number 3, Nick. And Candace Owens plays a video of Joe Rogan talking about conspiracy theories. And Candace Owens makes a declarative statement of the world is run by pedophiles. Now, whenever someone like Candace Owens is dropping bombs, what is the very, very, very first thing? And I see this in rhinos, I see this in social media influencers, I see this in politicians and entertainment people. The very first thing they say is, oh, she's crazy. And I challenge you, I challenge everyone, just go get 30-minute clip of Candace Owens and tell me where she's crazy. Like, I've done this challenge where I've had people say, send me links and send me 30, and they go, she's out of her mind, she's crazy. And I go, okay, I'm going to go into this with a really open mind. Okay. No biases. I'm going to try to remove all the bias I can. I like Candace Owens, so I'm going to remove all my bias, and I'm not even going to think she's crazy. I'm just going to try to listen to it clearly. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, okay, I agree with that. No, that makes sense. That's a logical, intellectual uh, estimation. Yep, I can see how that could happen. Yes, that is factually true. That's factually true. That's factually true. Yep, that's factually true. True, 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 true. I don't know. I don't know. True, true. I'm not really well on that, but true, 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 true. Oh, she doesn't sound crazy to me. She sounds like a woman that has done her research and she's right on top of the target. I do find her sometimes to go off a topic and come back. And the reason why that's happening, because it happens to me sometimes, is because the information that she has, the understanding she has, like I have a unique, very, very specific, I would say, expertise on illegal immigration and legal immigration. So when people are talking to me and asking me, and I'm trying to articulate very thoroughly, it's very hard to stay like between the guardrails because there's so much information to say, there's so much treason, there's so much outside stories and influences that have to be articulated. So it sounds sometimes like, well, JJ just went off a little bit, now he's coming back. No, I had to go off because in order to show you and to articulate to you how our government got usurped by these people, and they let 30 million people in our country in 4 years, and we're looking at the chaos now. We have to go over here and we have to take a side detour. And I find her doing that. And sometimes I'm like, where's she going? And I think to myself, oh, she has so much information. She's trying to process it as she's speaking because it's so damning. It's so overwhelming. And she says this world is run by pedophiles. Before I play this, I would like you to know someone that I'm not going to name their names. I was filming my documentary, What is Treason? And I'm sitting at a table in a country bar. No one was there in Texas somewhere near the border, about maybe 2-3 hours north of the border. And I'm sitting there with CIA guys that retired, former, tied into contract work. You name the alphabet, they're working for them. And they said, I can't talk to you on the record because I'm doing a lot of this stuff on the job, but I'm going to let you know. The reason why the child sex trafficking, the reason why the Epstein, the reason why all of this is going on is because there's a significant there's a significant percentage of our politicians are pedophiles, to include presidents. And they just kind of let that hang. And then they followed up with, and the ones that are in office, they know who the pedophiles are, but they remain silent because they're compromised as well. And I remember looking at these men, and a lot of them had, 2 or 3 of them had cowboy hats real low on their brim. And I like to see people's faces because I want to see, is this guy full of crap, or is he really speaking the truth? And I'm looking at all 3 of them, and I'm going back and forth, looking at their faces. And I did this for a living. They 100% believed everything they were saying to me. And as I've gone through, this is now over 2 years now, almost 2 years from filming, everything they've said is absolutely true. Everything that I believe was happening in the Border Patrol and ICE and DHS and Mayorkas, that's all been proven true. Everything has been proven true. I want you to listen, Candace Owens talking and showing a clip on Joe Rogan about conspiracy theories and how there really is no conspiracy theories. This is just the world we live in.
They think you're stupid. They think we're all stupid. Obviously, this is a conspiracy, okay? It is a conspiracy. And I was so happy to hear Joe Rogan spell out and acknowledge that not only are conspiracies real, but they're actually common, okay? He sat down with comedian Theo Von, and they discussed just that thing. Take a listen.
What makes me nervous is the people that are not aware that all of our assumptions of how the government works were all based on bull. The people that still believe, that are like true believers of one side or the other, true faith in government and experts, those people make me more nervous because some of them are smart. That's what's crazy. When smart people are completely unwilling to recognize that conspiracies are not just real, but they're also not rare. They're very common. They're common and people get away with them.
Yeah.
Especially when they're in positions of extreme power, like running intelligence agencies. And there's a lot of things that they do that are morally reprehensible, but totally legal. Like they could do it because they're allowed to, because they are a 3-letter organization and they have ultimate power to do a lot of like really gross things that are in the nature or in the interest of national security. So like this is the whole idea behind this. Like this is our decision. This is the best move for national security. This is how we compromise assets. This is how we gather information. This is how we keep America safe.
Yeah, it's like the Jeffrey Epstein files. Like they're out there saying it would really compromise national security if we told you. Yeah, worldwide. If we told you that actually this whole world is being run by pedophiles, our nation wouldn't be secure. You guys would probably be in the streets violently protesting. You'd never send your kids into school. You'd avoid the government like the plague, and you'd stop paying taxes. So we're just going to classify that as a national security risk. That's kind of what that means, obviously. It means that what they are doing is so despicable that if we knew what they were doing, we would not listen to them. That's what that means. That's what that language means. That's why there's been so much protection over Jeffrey Epstein, because that is who rules over us. These people are disgusting. And there's just been so much proof.
And she's right. And I'll follow one more thing. I'm a Christian man. I'm flawed. I'm sinful. All those things. But if I was in a position of authority and power like Speaker Johnson, I would have already named names. I would have brought bills to the floor with all of the names on them. I would have disclosed information, videos, pictures. I would have done it all. And I would have told every single person telling me not to go to hell. But that's the difference between an alpha male that's a Christian and believes his soul's going to rot in hell if I don't tell the truth, especially on something so evil, versus a very weak man like Speaker Johnson. These are times in human history that are going to be dissected for a very, very long time by historians. And they are all going to wonder collectively, how did these people, what was the psychosis, what was in the water that made these people? Was this a virus? Was this a part of COVID that made their brains go squishy? How could they have allowed this to happen when everything is out in the open? Nobody wants to say it for what it is. The best way for you to support me is to go to my website or my Substack. There is a ton of free stuff, free articles, free videos. If you don't want to do a paywall, that's fine. Just go to my website, check it out, spread the word, jjcarrell.com, or at my Substack, jjcarrell.substack.com. And I love my website. Great company here in Kansas that actually houses my website and runs it. Incredible company. And my Substack, I believe, is top notch. Also, go and please support the companies that support my program. And that is sat123.com, sat123.com/JJ. I do not promote anything on this show that I have not used or continue to use, period. That's just how I am. My son has a ballistic backpack from Sat123. My wife and I have 2 sat phones that we have and a generator with solar panels. Faraday packs for our cell phones at night. Everything that I believe I need to keep my family safe or help be a tool on my tool belt to keep my family safe. Go to their website, look at it. They have great customer service. They actually speak English when you call them, and the people that you're speaking to are actually Americans living in America. It's shocking. I know it's hard to believe. Sat123.com/JJ, sat123.com/JJ. You get a sat phone free, $600 to $1,500 sat phone free with your subscription, which is less than $100 a month. Love the company. Have Chris on every single week. We'll have him on tomorrow or on Monday. Sat123.com/JJ. This matrix, it is all encompassing. It is all encompassing. I want to show you a video. This is and I'd like you to stop this at minute 27, please, Nick. This is one of the new HHS people. He basically took over the absolute mental patient, the sexual freak, Rachel or Richard Levine. Remember that fat, obese man wearing a dress? And that fat, obese man was in charge of our health. Listen to this man say what Joe Biden and Levine did to our youth, and you tell me that we are not going to face a moral and a physical battle in the very, very near future, when hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of children, when they become adults and they have been sexually mutilated, had their hormones damaged, their bodies cannot enjoy sex, there is going to be a manic suicide, and there is going to be angry young adults that feel like completely abandoned and sold a lie by the people that were supposed to protect them, their parents and politicians, and they are going to lash out at society and try to harm society as society has harmed them. Watch this, please.
This is Admiral Brian Christine, the Assistant Secretary for Health at the Department of Health and Human Services. Over the past decade, the number of children and adolescents who reject their biological sex has risen dramatically. Some analyses indicate trans-identifying teens nearly doubled from 2022 to 2023. These young people and their families are searching for answers to gender dysphoria. They deserve honesty, compassion, and the strongest evidence for the help that the medical profession can offer. And that is why the United States Department of Health and Human Services worked with 9 academics with professional backgrounds in medicine, bioethics, psychology, and philosophy to conduct the most comprehensive review to date of the standard of care for gender dysphoria in minors. The findings within the 400-page peer-reviewed report are clear. Sex-rejecting procedures such as puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children are dangerous. They can cause infertility, a loss of sexual function, reduced bone density, metabolic and cognitive effects, and certainly surgical complications. They can scar kids, both physically and emotionally, for life, and they can do irreversible harm. I implore physicians and parents to read this report and protect children from fraudulent procedures.
Yeah. Our government did that to us. Our government convinced us that some fat, obese dude with makeup and a dress on was a woman. And we all had to nod like a bunch of retarded cretins in some kind of horror show and going, yeah, that's a woman. Yeah, that's a woman. Where people like me were like, no, that's a freak. That's a sexually perverse freak. Why do you think men dress up in women's clothes? Do you think it's because they want to be a woman? Or do you think it's a sexual fetish where they sexually get off on wearing women's clothes? And they sexually get off and going into places that are only for women, dressing rooms, showers, bathrooms. Well, of course this is a sexual fetish. It's a sexual perversion, but we can't call it that. We just have to call it being a woman. This is the matrix that we find ourselves in. It is perverse beyond our wildest dreams. We don't even know what the truth is on a guy named Crooks that shot and tried to assassinate President Trump. We have no idea. We have no idea who Tyler Robinson is that killed Charlie Kirk. We have no idea. I'm going to show you a video and you tell me if when you're watching this video at the same time, go back in time and remember watching the first video of my show and tell me if you're not in assimilation. If you're not being manipulated and lied to because you are in this bubble called a matrix, watch this and ask yourself, how do they not have video of this? Well, because they're all lying to you. Go ahead and play this. What do you believe? Do you believe that everything that, maybe let me put it this way, everything seems to be, anything that and everything that happens seems to be adverse to the good side? For example, every time that there is a found batch of votes, they miraculously all go to Democrats every single time. What's the probability of that? How come every single time that we're talking about something that's happened in the Matrix, every time there's lost evidence, lost videos, the video didn't work when Epstein killed himself? Yeah, that moment, that the exact moment Epstein killed himself, we don't have the 3 minutes of what went in and out of the sorry. You just have to trust us. Why does everything always bend and turn to the side of evil? Why? You think it's by just because we're just very unlucky? Or do you think it's systemic? It's built into the matrix? Do you believe that we don't have video? Are you telling me, as a guy that ran a station where we had to have our cameras working at all times, are you telling me the most, probably ever, the highest profile arrestee that you ever had in that sheriff's department, your cameras were not working in the intake? Your cameras are not working in the parking lot? Are you kidding me? Your cameras are not working in your Sally port? Your Sally port is when you drive into, and it's a clicker like on a garage, and opens the, or either comes open or rolls up like a garage door. It's usually a chain link fence, and you drive in and then it closes behind you. So that person, that the detainee, the arrestee knows, well, there ain't no getting out of here. I mean, I could fight these guys. Eventually they're going to get enough guys in here and beat the crap out of me. I'm not escaping, right? I'm just not getting out of here. I don't have the key to open it up. I don't have the clicker to get open the thing. I'm here. But that is where a lot of bad things happen in the Sally Port. Transporting narcotics, transporting evidence, transporting money, dealing with detainees. We want to have cameras on that at all times. So we have like a chain of custody at all times through our video. Okay, we're in the Sally Port. Okay, we're coming in to the detention area in the hallway. Here's a camera. Okay, this is where the detainee sits down. This is where we're going to process them. The camera's on. Now we're going to bring them to a cell. The cells have cameras on them. Okay, now we take them out of the cell. We're going to process him, walk him into interrogation rooms. The interrogation rooms have cameras. Dear God Almighty, are you going to tell me, a law enforcement guy, that you didn't have your cameras working? And I'm supposed to believe you? Or am I supposed to believe that we're in a matrix? Let's look at Mr. Crooks that shot President Trump, killed a fireman, and critically wounded, or seriously wounded at least 2 other gentlemen from his shots. I want you to listen to Tucker Carlson as he describes Crooks on social media, on the internet, as the FBI swore to us for however long it's been. What has it been? A year now? That he had no social media presence. He was never on social media. We have no idea who this kid is. Really? Why are you lying about it? And Tucker Carlson asked that question by showing this. Go ahead, Nick.
Further to the left, he said, quote, "I believe the outcome will be irrelevant." In response to the same video, Thomas Crooks issued what sounds a lot like a digital manifesto. Quote, "In my opinion, the only way to fight the government is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into an essential building and set it off before anyone sees you. Track down any important people or politicians, military leaders, etc., and try to assassinate them. Any sort of head-to-head fight is suicide, and even ambush or surprise attacks likely aren't going to end well." These remarks were especially notable because they came at the final phase of Crooks's YouTube commenting. At that point, a new character emerged into the conversation, a user named Willie Tepes. who started pressuring crooks to commit violence. For example, quote, if a gun and a badge is all that is needed, then authority obviously comes from the barrel of a gun. We have more guns than they do. There is no way we can avoid a war at this point, so you better just get used to the idea. We have nothing to lose and everything to win. And the alternative, a global police state, is unacceptable. Nothing in life is simple, but that is no argument.
If you have not seen that, the full episode on Tucker Carlson on Thomas Crooks, you need to go see it, because it blows the FBI completely out of the water. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino scrambling to answer these questions. I don't think if you are a spiritual person, if you are a godly person, or if you were just a little bit aware and have some intellectual curiosity, I don't know how you do not see what's happening and say, yeah, we're not in a matrix. We're just with people that are kind of bad. No, everything as we know it has been manipulated, twisted. We do not have a semblance of God's natural order. Just like the beginning of that video at the start of the show, you got to work your ass off to get $80,000. I remember when $80,000 was a lot of money, like a lot of money. Then it was 100. Then it was 120. Then it was 150. And then it was, well, your wife has to work too. Now you're at 200, two and a quarter. And remember, every single year, everything goes up. Why does everything continually go up? Why does prices continually go up? That doesn't make any sense. It goes against economics, actually. If that's the case, then the stock market should just continually skyrocket. But even the stock market has downturns. So where's the cost of everything going down? It just consistently goes up because it's all inflated. It's all a lie. We took us off the gold standard, and now we're on paper. Try to understand what I just said. We have nothing concrete backing the dollar. Nothing. It's made out of thin air. That's not my feelings. That's just not my commentary. You go listen to Mr. Powell talk on 60 Minutes, and they asked him, do you just print it? And his answer was, yes, we just print it. Or we just type some numbers in a computer. Could you imagine if you're like, you know what? I'm like $500 shy this month. I'm tired of being $500 shy. I'm going to give myself $5 million. And you just logged into your bank account and you typed in 5 million. And it's in your bank account now. Now you have $5 million. Don't tell me there's anything different. Don't try to convince me that somehow that action is healthy and moral and legal for the Federal Reserve to do that with trillions of dollars, and I should go to jail for 5 million. Hell, I should go to jail for 5,000. I could go to jail for $50 of fraud, $5 of fraud. But they're printing trillions of dollars and no one says a word. Everybody just shrugs their shoulders and goes, well, that's just Jerome Powell. That's just the banks. Who are the banks? I don't know. Who runs, well, the Federal Reserve, the federal government runs. No, you idiot. It's not the federal government. It's just the name they came up with because they're geniuses. They called it the Federal Reserve to convince you that was the federal government. I remember being a teenager thinking, well, the Federal Reserve is the federal government. Hopefully they know what they're doing. Then I was pulled aside by my parents and said, no, son, those are just a conglomerate of banks, 4 or 5 banks, bankers that run our country through the financial system. And I remember as a teenager, I was like, I couldn't digest it. Like I remember just sitting there looking at them like, Man, my parents don't know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, they're off the rockers. Going to find out, no, my parents were right on. Dear God, what are you telling me? Are you telling me that Nixon took us off the gold standard and we're just paper money? Yep, that's what I'm telling you. That they just print it like nonstop, just print it? Yep. Well, doesn't that hurt our dollar? Doesn't it devalue your worth, your hourly, your yearly worth in your production and your labor? Well, of course it does. But shut up, because it's going to get a lot worse. Because you're going to shut up, we're going to devalue your dollar, and then we're going to bring in foreigners to take your jobs or devalue or push down your wage, and you're going to like it. And then, JJ, I know that you were born in the 60s and grew up in 70s and 80s, but I'm going to slaughter the percentage of your race in your country. I'm going to destroy it. In fact, by the time you're 6 years old, I'm going to bring your race to a minority in the country. You know, if they would have told us that there would have been a revolt. But they never tell us that. Why don't they ever tell us the truth? Because we would revolt in the streets. Like Candace Owens said, if we knew that our government was run by pedophiles, that our banking systems, our entertainment elite, the corporate business billionaires are pedophiles, we would go to the streets and we would burn our cities to the ground. And we would hang those people. So Speaker Johnson, John Thune, all the Democrats, they provide protection to all the pedophiles because they're pedophiles as well. Or they have taken bribes, they have sexual fetishes. Look, I always like to listen to people that have been there, done that. It's like somebody wants to know about the border, what's it like? They should come to me. If I want to know about Ukraine war and running tanks, then I'm going to go to Colonel Douglas McGregor. If I want to know the true underbelly, what's the true makeup of Washington, D.C., in the halls, in the banquet halls, in the bedrooms, in the affairs, then I want to go to Tucker Carlson because he was in that world. And he says it very clearly. Almost everyone in Washington, D.C. has a sick, weird sexual fetish. Don't you find that interesting on any level? So if you have a sexual fetish, meaning you're into bestiality, you're into orgies, threesomes, you're into gay sex, don't you want that hidden when you go back to Fort Sumner? Go back to a small town in Indiana, go back to St. Charles, Louisiana, go back to even some place in New York City and say, well, yeah, I like to have orgies. And yeah, I like predominantly be gay sex and then some animals sometimes. How well do you think your campaign's going to go? Huh? Come on, let's be honest. And for us to sit here in silence and act as if our government is not run by that, or to say that I'm a conspiracy theorist and Candace Owens is a conspiracy theorist and Tim Burkett's a conspiracy theory and Massey and MTG, Boebert, Joe Rogan, go down the list. We're all Benny Johnson. We are all conspiracy nuts. No, we are people that sit there and listen to those people, those pedophiles, those evil people that are covering for them, and we just listen to what they say. Again, I've testified in front of Congress. I've been around these people. They are some of the dumbest humans on planet Earth, period. They can campaign, shake hands, do that. I give them credit. They're able to do that, or they're placed in there. They're not smart people. So when you add in very stupid people in very high level situations. And then you begin to put pressure on them, stress, like massive stress. Do you think they're not going to break? Do you think they're not going to make absolute asses of themselves? Speaker Johnson is on there giving a speech, giving a press conference, saying out loud that our intel agencies, foreign and domestic, were in the sexual raping of children. And we have to keep them covered up because of their sources and methods. Well, what sources did they use there, Speaker Johnson? And what methods did they use to entrap, enslave, and rape young girls? Can you please take a few minutes and just speak as slowly as you can? Not because I'm stupid, because I know that you're stupid. So why don't you just lay it out for us there, sir? With your perfectly combed hair, all 5'3" of you, as you kneel down and pray to God as a spectacle on the House floor. We're going into the weekend. Nothing's going to be resolved except more chaos, more uncertainty. If you think you were going to see all of the Epstein evidence, you're a fool. Will we see some sacrificial lambs? Yep, we will see a few sacrificial lambs. That's it. You're going to see no one else. Everything else can be redacted, all of it. Then the question is going to be, are we angry enough to force the issue on our government? When are we ever going to take our government back? When are we ever going to demand transparency and see it through? We still haven't seen the JFK. We still haven't seen MLK. We still haven't seen 9/11. We still haven't seen the moon landing. We haven't seen a damn thing. Why? If I went to the moon, I would show you everything I had. If I was innocent of killing a president and killing a civil rights leader, I would show you everything I have to prove my innocence. Isn't it interesting that they have no desire to prove their innocence? None. No desire to prove that they went to the moon. None. Everything is hidden. And when everything is hidden, evil lurks. People begin to have no loyalty because they feel they've been lied to, manipulated, propagandized. And then we become a society of no trust. Then we become extremely balkanized. And then we become what we are today in America.